In the heart of modern Tehran, where the city lights flicker like distant stars in an unending night, a sinister tale from the past begins to stir. It's a tale rooted in ancient fears and urban legends, known as Reera, a name that echoes through the streets with chilling finality. The legend of Reera is not just a whisper in the dark, but a palpable presence that haunts the very essence of those who dare to invoke it. This is the story of an old man named Ibrahim, a devout Muslim whose faith and discipline would be tested in ways he never imagined. It is a story of fear and retribution, woven into the fabric of Tehran's darkened alleys and forgotten corners. Ibrahim Hossain was a 60-year-old man who had spent his life devoted to his faith. A retired schoolteacher, he lived alone in a modest apartment in the northern part of Tehran. His days were filled with prayers and the comforting routine of a quiet life. His neighbors knew him as a gentle soul, always ready with a kind word or a helping hand. But recent months had brought an unsettling change. Ibrahim had been plagued by vivid nightmares of a shadowy figure with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth. Each night, he woke in a cold sweat, whispering prayers to ward off the terrifying presence that seemed to linger in his dreams. His anxiety grew when he began hearing strange noises in his apartment, soft whispers, creaking floors, and occasional cold drafts. The sound of footsteps echoed in the halls, though no one was ever there when he checked. His friends and family dismissed it as a result of stress or old age, but Ibrahim knew that something more sinister was at play. Reera was not an ordinary ghost story. It was a tale woven into the very fabric of Tehran's urban legend lore. According to the legend, Reera was once a young woman of unparalleled beauty and virtue who lived many centuries ago. Betrayed by her closest friend and lover, she was accused of witchcraft and brutally executed. Her spirit, however, did not find peace. It was said that she roamed the city, seeking vengeance against those who wronged her or displayed hypocrisy. Her anger and sorrow turned her into a vengeful entity, capable of preying on the unsuspecting and the devout alike. The tales spoke of her hollow eyes and her ability to mimic the voices of loved ones, to lure her victims into a false sense of security. It was a dark and rainy night when Ibrahim's life changed forever. The rain lashed against his windows, and thunder rumbled ominously in the distance. He had just finished his evening prayers when he heard it, a soft, rhythmic tapping at his door. He opened it to find no one there. The hallway was empty, save for the flickering light of the single bulb in the corridor. The tapping grew louder, more insistent, and this time, it was coming from inside the apartment. Ibrahim's heart pounded as he searched every room, but there was no sign of an intruder. Later that night, as he prepared for bed, he heard a familiar voice call his name. It was his late wife, Aisha, who had passed away 5 years earlier. The voice was tender and soothing, a stark contrast to the fear that had gripped him. Ibrahim, though wary, was drawn to the voice. He followed it to the living room, where the temperature had dropped significantly. In the dim light, Ibrahim saw a figure standing by the window, a woman with hollow, dark eyes and a mouth that seemed to stretch unnaturally. She was dressed in an old-fashioned gown, her appearance eerily similar to the descriptions of Reera. Ibrahim's blood ran cold. The woman spoke in a haunting whisper, "Ibrahim, you have been called." Fear paralyzed him. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like lead. The figure moved closer, her eyes boring into his soul. Ibrahim tried to recite verses from the Quran, but the words felt foreign on his tongue. The room seemed to spin, and he felt a cold hand brush against his cheek. The encounter left Ibrahim shaken. His prayers grew more fervent, his sleep more restless. He found solace in the mosque, seeking refuge among fellow worshippers and the calming presence of the imam. Yet, Reera's influence was relentless. The once serene mosque became a place of torment for him. Ibrahim began to see Reera's apparition everywhere, at the market, in the streets, even in the reflection of shop windows. Her whispers grew louder, more insistent. The lines between reality and nightmare blurred as Reera's presence grew stronger. His mental state deteriorated. He became increasingly isolated. shunning his friends and family. His once orderly apartment fell into disarray, a mirror of his crumbling sanity. The haunting was no longer confined to the night. It followed him throughout the day. The only respite he found was in the fleeting moments of sleep, where he hoped to escape the tormenting vision of Reera. One night, Ibrahim decided to confront his tormentor. Armed with a candle, a copy of the Quran, and a heart full of dread, he entered the living room where he had first encountered Reera. The rain hammered against the windows, and the wind howled as if sensing the tension within the room. As he recited verses from the Quran, the air grew colder, and Reera's figure materialized before him. Her eyes, hollow and dark, locked onto Ibrahim's with an intensity that made his blood run cold. She spoke in a voice that seemed to come from the depths of despair. "You cannot escape me, Ibrahim. Your faith cannot save you from your own guilt." Ibrahim's hands trembled as he continued to read, but the words seemed to lose their power. The room darkened, and a malevolent force seemed to envelop him. Reera's apparition moved closer, her form becoming more distorted and grotesque. Ibrahim felt a chilling grasp around his throat, his breath coming in ragged gasps. In a final act of desperation, Ibrahim threw the Quran at Reera, hoping that it would banish her. The book flew through the air and struck her figure. There was a blinding flash of light, and for a moment, the apparition seemed to waver. But as the light faded, Reera's form remained, more menacing than before. She approached Ibrahim with a dreadful calm, and her whispers turned into a deafening roar. The final confrontation was not just a struggle with a vengeful spirit, but a confrontation with Ibrahim's own fears and regrets. Ibrahim's disappearance was a mystery that left the community in shock. His apartment was found in disarray, with no sign of struggle or foul play. The local authorities could not explain his sudden vanishing, and the story of his encounters with Reera became a whispered legend among the residents. The legend of Reera grew darker with Ibrahim's tale, a cautionary reminder of the vengeful spirit that haunted the city. Ibrahim's apartment remains empty, a chilling reminder of the night when the boundaries between the living and the dead became irrevocably blurred. Reera's name is spoken in hushed tones, and the shadow of her legend continues to haunt those who dare to tread too close to the mysteries of the past. The tale of Ibrahim Hossain serves as a dark testament to the power of ancient fears and the restless spirits that roam the night, forever seeking retribution. In the heart of Tehran, where the city never truly sleeps, the story of Reera remains a chilling reminder that some legends are not merely stories but warnings from the darkness, waiting for their next victim.